And good evening and welcome to yet another edition of Steel News. I'm Ann Vandersteel and welcome to the War Zone. The fight for children continues. The fight in this country with illegal immigration has never been bigger and more significant. And frankly, we are at the breaking point. This is the tipping point for America. Will we save our republic? Will we remain a constitutional country, one where we have 50 states that come together and frankly sanctify what it means to be a republic? We have an administration that is lawless. We have an administration that is collaborating with cartels and criminal networks around the country. They're a transnational criminal organization in them of themselves. I call it a worldwide RICO criminal gang working with other governments around the world, collaborating, as Michael Yon and I have proven with Operation Burning Edge, the weaponized human migration to destabilize the last country that stands in the way of global governance. And here to talk to me tonight about the significance of what's happening with the children. And you've seen the work we've done on Operation Burning Edge with Tara Rodas and others that are Carlos Arellano's, others that have proven the fact the United States government is the biggest purveyor of child sex trafficking and child trafficking in the world. We have an appetite for it here. It's disgusting and it's a predilection unlike anything else. Well, joining me now is Craig Sawman Sawyer. You know Craig because he is the founder of Veterans for Child Rescue. And Craig, I am so happy to have you here because you have your own what we call 501c3 nonprofit organization focused on this. You're a former veteran Navy SEAL and U.S. Marine, uniquely qualified to save children. Thank you for being here this evening.
Hey, it's a privilege. Thanks for having me on.
So I want to dive right into the really disgusting, dark underworld of what it means to be a former military who still values his oath to this country, who is diving in to do child rescue. I've talked to some people in the business and I've seen some videos that have still keep me up at night when I go back. I try to compartmentalize them and shut the door because you have to. You can't live in that world all the time, but you do. And you see some of the most horrific, disgusting, unspeakable things. And, this is your passion. So let's start with, what was the first thing that happened in your life to create you to want to get into this line of business? What did you see?
Well, it wasn't what I saw. It's what I heard. And the reason I didn't see it is because child trafficking is a covert operation run domestically in the United States, even though it's at industrial scale. And I think that was what was so upsetting to me, Anne, is the fact that I hadn't seen it. And I'd had a TSSCI clearance for almost 30 years. So I had been all over the world, 60 countries, in defense of our nation and our people. And I was proud to do it. I was proud to defend us all and protect our peace here. And when a friend of mine from the CIA, and there were several of us from different agencies together, we were smoking cigars just in North Houston and catching up. And one of them detailed to me the nature of child trafficking domestically in that area. He said, Craig, this area, North Harris County, is the epicenter of child trafficking, the hottest activity of it, the most frequent, hottest activity in the continental United States. And I'm like, where? I don't see it. And he began breaking down to me how it's run, and that it's in sometimes affluent neighborhoods, and one house has got children in it, and there are people coming in around the clock accessing these children for sex, and that the children are taken to other people. And it is just done quietly like you would a drug operation, a narcotics ring. And that the children are held in the back of some restaurants, and people can access them there and rape the children. And I had a visceral, just a gut wrenching reaction to it. Like evil had just walked up and slapped me in the face. My dad was a strong pastor and man of God. And I was this kinetic warrior, although highly specialized and unconventional warfare, counterterrorism. It's still a physical fight, but my dad understood the spiritual nature of mankind and why evil people do harm. And I realized this was in my daddy's realm, my father's realm, and I was not prepared. I was not trained. I was not adequately ready to engage in this fight. And because these agents, one of them was from HSI, and he said, ultimately, Craig, what you're going to find, and his partner was with him. He said, ultimately, what you're going to find is you're only going to get so far with a conventional badge and gun against this crime, because these people in the darkest inner circles they're in it for wealth and power, and they do it for spiritual reasons. And whether or not you believe that it's true, that's what it's about for them. And they do get a spiritual top cover, a veil, if you will, of spiritual cloaking that hides their abilities, or hides their activities rather, from law enforcement prosecution and public consciousness, public awareness. And I'm like, that sounds hard to grasp, except for I grew up hearing my father preach about this and talk about it biblically. And I'd seen people delivered from demonic oppression and witnessed some of that growing up. So I knew that they were telling me the truth, and I knew that I was going to have to grow in my capability to do something about it, because I saw that clearly there's a lot of corruption that allows this top cover to happen. So, and if you started a new business, I don't care if it's a lemonade stand, the IRS is going to find you and get their money, right? They're going to get their, that's how it works. You can't run any industry without our federal government knowing about it and getting their tax money. So why is this allowed to run at industrial scale, and the public are not fully educated and aware on it? Well, it's because there's so much corruption now that it's allowing a lot of top cover. And that's what we started investigating. That's when I realized, and that our biggest weapon against this evil would be to expose it. We are called to expose evil. And that's the biggest thing that we can do against this crime, is show the American people how it's been allowed and how it runs, so that we can all, 340 million of us, rise up together and revolt legally and assert ourselves to throw bums out of office who are not serving our best interest and not serving the children's best interest, and replace people in agencies that are not making the rest, or replace judges and DAs who will not prosecute these crimes, and get to the bottom of who's funding these DAs and judges, as has been testified before Congress that George Soros is funding their campaigns to get them in these elected seats, with the agreement that they will not prosecute entire categories of harmful crime, including child rape and child trafficking. That's a conflict of interest. It's glaring. It should not be allowed anywhere on earth. Why are we allowing it here? That needs to change today. Today.
Craig, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, when you use the words revolt, let's, for all the FBI people that are going to watch this and everybody in the corrupt Department of Injustice, we're not talking about a revolution where we go on offense, but we have to revolt against the criminal corporatocracy that has been layered upon us, that gives these people that top cover. We've had I'd say all the elections are pretty much managed, rigged, and stolen. And if they aren't stolen, they at least corrupt the people that are in there, so that they vote in policies that go the way they go. I mean, our border has been wide open, and not one governor stood on Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 to close the border. They could have fought that then, and back when Joe Biden stepped in, they didn't. The pressure from Operation Burning Edge and organizations like yourself also put pressure on Abbott to finally pass SB 4, which is sort of redundant considering he had Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, even if Joe Biden wasn't going to enforce, a military down at the border under the rights of Article 4, Section 4. So we've had all the tools, and to say that we didn't, and that we're helpless and unable to fend for ourselves, is utter BS, in my humble opinion. But you're speaking my language, because you're talking about the people rising up. You're talking about the people coming together and overthrowing these. When I say overthrowing, I mean using the powers that we have. And there's an organization I just want to bring to your attention in case you're unaware of them. TacticalCivics.com talks about the power of county grand juries. And, this organization is in over 2,000 counties now across the country, Craig, and they're actually using the power of teaching people about citizen and county grand juries, just so that they can, restore the constitutional integrity of our governance. In other words, investigate with a grand jury and indict these corrupt criminal people and remove them using the sheriffs. And the sheriffs need to probably rely on citizens like yourself and others with former law enforcement or military background to become deputized to make these arrests and then prosecute them and hold the prosecutors, which are probably Soros funded as well. And maybe you need to indict them at the same time and start to really restore the integrity of the fabric of how you govern as a republic. Because at this point, we don't have anything like it. What we have is a transnational criminal organization that's allowing this child trafficking at an industrialized scale like never seen before. In fact, weaponized human migration around the world has never been seen on the scale at which it's happening today. And
True.
this, again, is all by design. So, I guess for me, to you, besides going in and doing these rescues, well, first, let's start there.
First,
go ahead.
And let me back you up. And
Sure.
for clarity, yes, I said peacefully and
Correct.
legally do it, but
Right.
revolt we must. And by revolt, I mean stand up, unite, and assert ourselves legally as citizens. We have the power. We live in a constitutional republic, if we can keep it. And we need to assert ourselves legally with our civic duty as our founding fathers intended, so that we throw the bums out of office legally who don't belong there, who are working against our best interests and are betraying us. So yes, ma'am, legally, peacefully, ethically, but revolt we must. So yes, ma'am, please continue.
I stand with you in solidarity 100%. And, I'm hoping the messaging is resonating with people. There's others out there around the country that are echoing the same sentiment. And we're going to find each other, and we are finding each other, hence this interview this evening. So let's due process, as everybody's guaranteed under the Fifth Amendment. So let's talk about, just first of all, the wretched nature of what you see. I've spoken with other operators. Tina Peters' son, by the way, was involved in child rescues as well. Once he got out of the military and unfortunately, died. She's a Gold Star mom. When both his parachutes failed to deploy, which to me is highly suspect from somebody who packs their own parachute. Doesn't make any sense. Right. So again, I'm just saying there's so many weird coincidences that happen regularly. And we could go into the Hillary Clinton body count, but let's not digress. Tell me a little bit about, from your perspective, what is it like? How do you get the information? And how do you organize? What do you do? Walk us through the steps of a child rescue, or rescues, as they say.
Yeah, well, what we found out immediately is that you're not welcome to go lay hands on a child and extract them from harm in the United States. It's considered kidnapping. And so you'll find yourself into trouble instead of being celebrated. So what we do is we work with federal and local law enforcement to identify them. So what you have to do, what you have to have to extract a child from harm in the United States, you have to have a power of attorney from the parents and a warrant from law enforcement. Well, if you have those things, you don't need a third-party NGO like Vets for Child Rescue for that. So we learned that that's pretty much off limits to us. So what we began doing, there are other cases where we've gotten to conduct rescues, and we do that, but only when we have the parents involved. So, but also what we've learned that we can do is run joint sting operations to disrupt the child trafficking operations and take the predators and the traffickers themselves off the streets and put them in prison to rape no more. Now, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the average number of children that a serial child predator rapes, because it is a serial predation, in my opinion, it's a demonic oppression in these people. That's why they don't tend to be rehabilitated. And that's why prisoners will kill them. And hardened prisoners will kill them in the prisons, because even a murderer sees the devil in a pedophile. There's something unnatural about raping and traumatizing a child that even hardened criminals will kill them. Mm-hmm. So the pedophiles have to be put in their own cell block, their own pedophile cell block now, to protect them from murderers and rapists, because they don't survive there. So what it's
I got to tell you, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I'm not advocating for murder, but I don't know why they should be given special treatment. Just saying they took advantage of somebody who was clearly unable to fight back for themselves. So isn't the Bible an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? I'm not suggesting they get murdered. I'm just suggesting, shouldn't they have to figure out how to fight for themselves, since that child was obviously indefensible?
Yeah, it's very upsetting, but what we have to operate in is a spirit of love and compassion, and we can love the person but hate the sin within them. Love the sinner but hate the sin. So
Right.
love the person but hate the harm that they do, and we do need to stop them from conducting that harm. So our way of stopping them is put them in a box, give them a fair trial. Let the totality of circumstances come out in the factual evidence and let it be weighed out by a jury of their peers in good faith and a judgment made on whether or not they get to live within society or whether or not they need to be penalized and how severely. So because the average number of children is estimated at 70, it's important that we put them in a box to rape no more, because they continue this rampage of predation. So some rape hundreds in their lifetime, and because pedophiles love to be in positions of unsupervised access, they seek out scout leader positions, they seek out uh, teacher positions, coach positions, anything that would give them unsupervised access to children. They abuse those positions to abuse the children that they have access to. So some of them, it's hundreds. Some get caught the first time. The average, they say, is estimated at 70. So every child predator we arrest and put in prison to rape no more represents an average of 70 children spared. So that is what we're learning that we can do here in the continental United States when the rest is prevented of us. So what else can we do? We can ignite 340 million Americans, recruit them to stand up and say no more and push back and hold our elected officials' feet to the fire. Get rid of corrupt judges. Get rid of George Soros' stranglehold on our judicial system so that it can prosecute in good faith. And more of these vile predators can be put in a box and stopped. That we can do and change the culture, change our education. Instead of grooming our children to be good little victims of trauma, we can train them on how to avoid it and how to be hard targets against it and be safe and happy and wholesome and empowered, and the families be empowered against this one, how to safeguard their children. We can stop this collectively, but we have to know about it. We can't fight a war against children that we don't know exist. And so we have to educate, we have to alert the people to what's going on, the fact that this is real and how it works. And so that's our primary weapon: expose and combat child trafficking. We do the exposure through media. That's why we have a radio show defending our children. We have a TV show defending our children. I do public speaking all over the country: radio, film, television, public speeches. I speak to the congressional reps, colleges, high schools, churches, social media, NASCAR placement, billboards, everything, flyers, word of mouth. It's all in an effort to ignite a change in our culture so that we have a safe culture for children once again, rather than the predatory one that we've been bullied into allowing now and deceived and through media into allowing to happen on our watch. We must not allow it any further.
Right. Well, again, everything you're saying, I'm completely in agreement. I'm looking directly at the culprit here in the United States government, which has allowed and made this environment possible for this kind of sick predilection to just grow out of control in this country. When you think about America, people came here for this country for the idealism of they can, get a piece of the pie and create their own life and be free to do it. Now we find ourselves being, monitored, driving down a highway, traffic camera after traffic camera. You walk down city streets, cameras everywhere. We've got, we've just gone through COVID where they, 6 feet apart, masked up, jabbed up. If you work for one of the major corporations, you had to take the jab if you wanted to keep your job. I mean, families were split apart, but yet the border was pushed wide open, and we brought in millions of children. In fact, Customs and Border Protection recently put a statistic out that we have 46 million illegals in the country that have grown since 2021. Even the Attorney General for Texas echoed that number, which I thought was wild to hear those numbers being talked about. But it's not, in my humble estimation, I don't think it's out of the question that we have that many in this country right now. I think we've got serious issues in our cities. So again, we become this agency bureaucracy, Craig, starting with, trying to ratchet this back into a constitutional republic, agencies that need to be taken out. And how would you use a constitutional government to stop this disgusting industry of child sex trafficking and solve the problem, or at least manage it and get it under control?
Well, Anne, it's fortuitous that you would ask that question, because when I was in federal law enforcement, I was forced to blow the whistle on a corrupt individual who had been at the very top of the FBI. He claims to have been number 2 at the FBI. I don't see where that was the case, but apparently he was high ranking as an SES level executive. And he was put in charge of the Las Vegas field office for the Federal Air Marshal Service, which was the agency that I was in. And so I had to serve under this man for a couple of years. And he demoralized that field office so aggressively, with such hostility. And I had 3 agents come to me in 1 week telling me that due to the toxic environment he created there against them, they felt like it was a pressure cooker environment, and like somebody was going to go postal, meaning someone was going to shoot somebody up in there. And they warned me, and they said that they felt the responsibility to notify me as their boss in good faith. So initially I had 210 agents to manage there until we hired more managers. And eventually each of us managers had 25 agents to manage in squads. And so when I'd reported him in good faith, this SES level executive from the FBI was allowed to retaliate against me and my family. And he utilized terror tactics against my wife and children. Well, he would send me out of town on assignment. He would send me to Washington, D.C. to sit at an empty desk in the new headquarters in D.C. for the Air Marshal Service with no assignment for 10 hours a day, at an empty desk with no assignment for 30 days at a time. And while I was
what year
there,
was this again? I'm sorry, Craig.
This was in 2003.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then he would have his wife's agents. His wife was the SAC, the special agent in charge of the FBI field office in Las Vegas. So it was an FBI couple. And he had either been forced to retire or fired from the Bureau. But in any case, he found himself without a job. And the director of the Air Marshal Service, who was chased out for his gross mismanagement, had hired this guy to take over our field office for reasons that don't make any sense, other than he said it was to form an MOU, a memorandum of understanding between the Bureau and the Air Marshal Service, so that when we arrested terrorists on the aircraft, we handed them off to the Bureau on the deck once landed, which made sense to me. But I heard this SES level executive bragging to a friend of his in the hallway. I was walking behind him, and it was a visiting agent from another agency. And he was saying, yeah, I still haven't finished that MOU. So he was proud that he was able to milk his job and stay there and collect apparently 2 paychecks, to my understanding. One is retirement from the Bureau, and another one to be this temporary Air Marshal manager. So he liked the money and the status,
and the double dipping.
And so whether or not the double dipping in his case was accurate or not, I don't know. I know it was true for the Secret Service agents that had been defecated out of the bottom of the Secret Service. The ones that Secret Service didn't want, they defecated upon the Air Marshal Service, and they headed up the headquarters, the new headquarters of the Air Marshal Service after 9/11. So grossly mismanaged, but that's what this guy did. So in watching him retaliate against me from the inside, in surround, I saw how they rancid what we would refer to now as the deep state. I saw how they circle the wagons around one of their own corrupt and tried to protect him, because if he goes down, it tears the veil open in their own all of their caper, right? And their own situations where they're double dipping or collecting SAS level pay and not doing in their jobs, not doing anything, hooking themselves up with the status, but leaving the American taxpayers without that service. So, or running whatever crime scams that they may have been running.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a threat to that. So I had to go, and he had to be protected, but I watched how they did it, and I know how to break it. I witnessed it, I lived it from the inside. So I wrote down a pretty comprehensive plan on how to ransack the different agencies, corrupted key agencies, one at a time, and purge them of the corrupt, and convict the criminally corrupt, and expel those who are just worthless, and promote those who are acting in good faith, and bring in good faith leaders, real quality leaders who cannot be corrupted, will not be corrupted, and install them throughout the chain of command, and then recruit that agency one at a time to help drain the rest of the swamp. And then we'll become an increasing swell of corrective action and cleansing of our agencies to help drain the rest of the swamp and get back to a legitimate, righteous, good faith, effective federal government, who, by my opinion, need to be much smaller than it is now. So
Yes.
they'll serve we the people in good faith.
Do we keep the FBI?
Well, either we delete the FBI and start fresh, or we ransack it and we get rid of all of their headshed that we've seen lie to us and are hostile.
What about a General Michael Flynn in an appointed position at the pleasure of the President Trump to consolidate the intelligence community into something much more manageable that would be meaningful, along with the guidance of, say, someone like yourself who just explained how you would salvage people that would be worthy of salvaging?
From everything that I understand about Michael Flynn, I would say yes. I would encourage that.
Okay.
I don't know of anybody that has more experience in the intelligence community. And if he is righteous, as I believe him to be, unless there's something I don't know, then I think absolutely. I think he's been abused by the system, as President Trump has been abused by the system. They have been extensively bullied, as have their families. And I think he understands now the level of corruption and what needs to be done. And I think he has the will and the knowledge of how to do it. I think he has the heart for our nation and wants freedom to be restored and legitimacy to be restored. And I would think he would be the primary candidate for such a position. Yes, ma'am. I do believe he would be the one to do it.
Well, that's good to hear. Craig, I need to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about what it's going to look like under a Trump presidency, who's going to be his leadership, what you can do to contribute. And of course, again, plug the work that you're doing, because this is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most important thing we need to be doing to save humanity, save our species, and save the future. We are being challenged with this woke nonsense that's pervasive throughout all the agencies, corporations. We have corporatocracy, public-private partnerships of fascism running this country. Yeah. And again, these sick people are the ones that are facilitating this, child trafficking for their own sick child sex predilections, which is just so abominable. Some of the videos I've seen are just haunting, absolutely haunting. So when we take a quick break, we come back, we're going to talk about what it's going to look like on the other side, who hopefully will be in control of the border, not this Marxist Alejandro Mayorkas, but somebody with some real cojones to bring in men like yourself and others that I revere, that I think can actually get the job done. So stick with us. We'll be right back on the other side of this, after a couple of quick words from my sponsors here at MyPillow.
My Towels solved the problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes my towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get my towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all my towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
mypillow.com. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a January 6th political prisoner rotting away in horrible conditions? January 6th patriots are subject to cruel and unusual punishment every day and kept imprisoned for nearly 3 years without trial. These American heroes have to survive inhumane conditions where they lack basic food nutrients, clothing, and hygiene. Joe Biden's corrupt Department of Justice and FBI Gestapo has been making sure the families of these brave patriots are suffering as well. The breadwinner has been ripped out of the home, and these young families are being extorted thousands of dollars a year to keep up with commissary costs for their J6 prisoner. Many families have been completely devastated, missed mortgage payments and kicked out of their homes, and even the family car repossessed. The ongoing battle these families face to stay afloat and support their loved ones in prison is in desperate need of our help. You can now sponsor a January 6th family to help support them in their greatest time of need. Sponsor J6.com is a new organization started by January 6th political prisoner for 965 days, Jake Lang, ensuring 100% of funds made go to Patriots commissary accounts. By becoming a sponsor of a J6 family, you can ensure one of the nearly 200 currently incarcerated J6 prisoners is properly clothed and fed. Sign up today to give the vital help these families need and make a real impact in the lives of our POWs. Head to sponsorj6.com and support our patriots.
All the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist, you're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs, fuck you. War.
It is war. That's where we are right now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second half of Steel News, and you have entered the war zone. I'm Ann Vandersteel, and I'm joined this evening by Craig Sawyer. Craig Sawman Sawyer, as many people call him. What an exemplary man this is. Somebody who speaks the same language that I do, talks about restoring the republic, talks about constitutionality, the Constitution, talks about limited government. But most importantly, at this point in time, this juncture from where I'm sitting and what I've seen on Operation Burning Edge with Michael Yon, all the traveling we've done down across the border and into Central America and Latin America, looking at the influx of not only military-age men, but sadly, all of these children that are being let in through Catholic charities and dispersed around the country. We've gone to the warehouses where the kids are. We've spoken with whistleblowers that work for these non-governmental organizations, Carlos Avelanos, of course, Tara Roadhouse, who worked for Health and Human Services, another big whistleblower as well. Well, this gentleman this evening, Craig Sawman Sawyer, has been riding shotgun with me tonight, and we're talking about what he's doing with Veterans for Child Rescue. It's really a noble cause, and you've dedicated your life to this, Craig. We're on the other half of this. We've detailed what the problem is, what it looks like. You're talking about how we can solve the problems. Seeing a Trump administration, hopefully in the future here, in the not too distant future, I'd like to talk about some of the people you'd like to see him surround himself with and why you think that would be a good choice in order to at least get this border secure.
Well, one is Tom Homan. I believe I know Tom Homan well enough to know his heart. I'm on the Border 911 Commission speaking tour with him. I've heard him speak enough from the heart on this to where he pulls no punches. He speaks in a straightforward manner. I believe his heart is right, and he will act in good faith on behalf of the American people. I believe very strongly that he needs to have a high place in at least our border security, if not homeland security altogether, because again, I believe in his character and his integrity and his heart for the nation. So if President Trump or whichever president we bring in surrounds himself with people like Tom Homan, we're going to be in good shape. A lot of things are going to start to get changed for the better. And I pray that happens.
Well, let's pray that it happens too. I've spoken to Tom on occasion. I was fortunate enough to meet him several years ago down in McAllen, Texas. We had a running joke at the time that I would come in and do his press secretary because I would enjoy nothing more than to bang heads with the noodles there in DC about border security, since I know a lot about it myself, certainly not to the degree you do, but I've seen enough, I've reported enough, and talked to experts like yourself for years now, and it has got to be cleaned up. It can't be a talking point at cocktail parties in Washington, D.C. anymore, and it certainly can't be an opportunity for people just to fundraise to try and solve a problem. We can no longer profit from the problem. We have to actually have a solution and put the people that are fighting the problem out of business. I would love nothing more than to never have to report on the border again, because it shouldn't be a thing. It should just be a border. We shouldn't be talking about saving children. Children should be being children. And, again, we need to go back to the lives of America circa 1950. So let's talk about expanding the thought of Tom Homan and how you can contribute to what he is going to bring. Help me understand what Tom Homan is going to bring to the equation in terms of cleaning up this mess. Is he going to help facilitate mass deportations?
Well, here's the thing, and it's the corruption has gone so far, and this DEI hiring method of hiring people because of disabilities and inabilities and minority statuses is obviously not what you do when the stakes are at their highest. When the stakes are at their highest, you have to have the best capable, the most capable people, no matter what they look like, no matter what shape, color, size, or whatever. You want the people who are the most capable in those positions without discrimination. What we have right now is discrimination. We're choosing people that are least capable and putting them into positions, and we're told, and this is a psych job on the American people, we're told it's out of compassion. Well, no, if we want to give people some charity money or something, that's a different thing. But to put them into key positions where their incapability, their incompetence costs lives and destroys our national security, that's an abomination. That is something that should never be allowed to happen. So we got to realize the ideological subversion that Yuri Bezmenov so eloquently warned us about. Yuri Bezmenov was a KGB defector. He came to the United States and to Canada to warn us about how they meant to overthrow our nation without firing a single shot. And my God, they've done it.
They've done it.
Take an inventory of who's running what agencies now, you see that it's already happened. We're already in the hole. We have to dig ourselves out. So how would Tom Homan change it? Well, he would act in good faith. You don't have to be a genius to change things for the better. You just have to act in good faith. You have to just simply try to do an honest job on behalf of the American people, and it'll be infinitely better than the sellouts and the quislings, the traitors that we have right now, who are betraying us and facilitating harm against the American people's best interests. So what does it look like? And I'm going to let those experts bring their solutions without my speculation and interference in it. I trust them. I trust President Trump to choose wise people of integrity who will do those jobs, who will carry out those tasks. It's all in the personnel selection, and then let them do the job. You
That's
choose
true.
the right people, and then you release them to go do the thing, right?
That's right. That's right. And sometimes part of doing the job is dissolving either the supporting agencies around your job, because it's just superfluous. You don't need it. It's a waste and a drain on the taxpayer. And it's frankly, you're getting filled with SES employees that really don't want the problem solved. They've infiltrated, as we're seeing, frankly, in so many agencies around the country, specifically DHS right now. Department of Homeland Insecurity is run by a communist Marxist, Alejandro Mayorkas, who, by the way, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Craig, was in attendance at President Molino, the new president of Panama's inauguration several weeks back. And he was told by the president of Panama that the United States will fund planes to repatriate illegals in Panama back to the country of origin, as well as fund the closure of the Darien Gap. And if not, they would restrict the access to the Panama Canal to the United States. I thought that was quite telling about how serious they are in Panama to get out from under the thumb of the United States, which they see as a threat to their national security. What say you?
Isn't it sad? And it breaks my heart as a Marine, a Navy SEAL, who's traveled to 60 countries around the world in defense of my nation, and told my wife goodbye and kissed her so many times when I did not know if I would come home, that this is now the reputation that our once proud and beautiful shining city on a hill, our beloved USA, has been grossly mismanaged into. We've been betrayed. This is not incompetence. These people are installed, and we see that now. And they are betraying us, and they are harming us. And most of us are still asleep. We don't want to see it. I say we, I'm talking about we, the citizens, the American people. So many do not want to see because we lack the moral courage to see and face the betrayal, because it is so ugly and it's so emotionally painful. And it means that we need to get up and do something about it. And so many are not willing. So we see that this is happening, and it is heartbreaking. And wherever there's darkness, you can be assured that the light is coming.
That's
and
right.
as darkest before the dawn. And the good news is we have the power. We, the people, have the power. So we are not to walk in a spirit of darkness. That is not from the kingdom of heaven. Our Creator has us walking in power and love and a spirit of a sound mind. When you know that God created everything and everyone in this entire universe, it is all His. So no created being can even comprehend the full scope of their Creator, let alone overcome that Creator. That's just basic comprehension. That's basic logic. So even the fallen and even the wicked were created by the Most High God. They cannot comprehend the full scope of Him, let alone overcome Him. Once you understand that that's the factual dynamic, you realize evil has already been defeated, just like the Bible says. Just like the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing. And we, the people, have the power to stand up and assert ourselves as voting citizens to take our country back and restore legitimacy, restore a righteous, healthy, effective government that serves we, the people. The beauty is in the opportunity. When you can't swing your coat by the sleeve without hitting something that needs fixing, there's an opportunity to fix something.
That's
and
right.
It's on us. It's a beautiful sunshine day opportunity to go and set about fixing things. I'm trying to fix things by stopping those who harm children and taking the legs out from under those who harm our nation politically. And so many of them are in these secret societies that traffic children, and that's where they get a lot of their wealth and power from. And it's the Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein intel collection and blackmailing syndicates that get the control over a lot of these people through blackmail. And we, the people, need to understand how it works and remove these compromised people who are traitors and quislings from positions of authority and power over us. They can't be there. They're ruining everything.
They are. Want to remind everybody, your website right here should be visited by all. It is a great website. It is full of information. Vets4, the number 4, childrescue.org. Vets4, number 4, childrescue.org. Please go and visit this site. You will get a plethora of information. You can also support the work that Craig Sawman, Sawyer, and his team are doing to be effective, to protect God's most precious and those who can't protect themselves, who are taken advantage of by the millions. So sad that this is even a conversation and that is continually being had in this country, and that you have so many organizations dedicated to this. But your name I follow for many years now, Craig. I became aware of you back in 2016. And I'm very grateful to actually have the opportunity to speak with you today and to learn that we are so aligned with the ideology and the methodology by which one would go about solving these issues, which goes right back to, as you said, what our Constitution defines, we the people. You know, the Bible is a very big book, but this Constitution is very skinny. They basically distilled biblical principles down into how you govern a nation who was founded on Christianity. And I thank you so much for your time this evening.
It's a privilege to be on with you, and I appreciate your courage to speak truth in a time of universal deceit when truth is so powerful and so desperately needed. Our people are starved for truth and they're starved for justice. So God bless you and all that you do and your powerful voice of truth. And I celebrate you. So thank you. And
back at you, Craig. Have a great evening.
Thank
you for coming. All right, everybody, that is the end of tonight's show here. I appreciate, as always, your time. Please do support our sponsors. You know, Mike Lindell over at MyPillow has been very, very gracious. We've had a great relationship, as we do others over at Satellite Phone Store. Sat123.com has been very supportive of getting us equipment when we do these trips and so forth down into Panama to make sure that we are in constant communication. So again, I celebrate all that. But again, celebrate yourself with some healthy food. Hi, I'm Ann Vandersteel. I want to talk to you a little bit about your health. Part of my daily routine is to get up in the morning and get a little exercise on. If I have time for a mile or 7, doesn't matter. I get out the door every single day. It's important to get my body moving and get that oxygen flowing through my brains. What is also equally important is what I put in my body after I exercise. I rely on VandersteelHealth.com, where I have a delicious selection of superfoods and other supplements. But first and foremost for me are my superfoods. I have a delicious shake every single day. It is organic, all made in the United States of America, non-GMO, never processed before, dehydrated superfoods. And when they reconstitute with water, milk, or whatever juice you like, it makes a delicious, healthy, plant-based protein supplement. And I say supplement because, frankly, I use this as a meal replacement. This is what's helped me lose the last 20 pounds of COVID. I'm back down to my fighting college weight, fitting in my college clothes, and feeling better than ever. So go to VandersteelHealth.com and get your delicious superfoods. Get on the transformation program with us. It's a 30-day kickoff, and it will get your day starting out great. And watch the weight just fall off. Watch the energy increase, the brain fog lift, and of course the ancillary benefits in your hair, skin, and nails. All these things, you are what you eat. Remember that. Go to VandersteelHealth.com.